Welcome to FooDooLoo, where we know what we chew. Today, we're venturing into a realm that sounds a bit like sci-fi. How to keep your food fresh for 5 years without refrigeration. Sounds crazy? Well, grab your aprons and let's discover how food preservation techniques from ancient times to modern science can help you pull off this seemingly impossible feat. Let us know what you'd like to see next by leaving a comment below. Also, remember to hit the like and subscribe button while you're at it, too. Picture this. It's a crisp autumn morning and you're strolling through your favorite farmer's market. You load up on fresh produce, carrots, apples, maybe a bit of corn. But there's a catch. You don't have a fridge, and you won't be able to eat these goodies for a while. Maybe it's for survival prepping, or maybe you're just curious about how your ancestors kept their food fresh for so long. Either way, it's time to dive into the fascinating world of long-term food preservation. So, how exactly do we do it? Let's start with one of the oldest and most reliable methods, drying. When you remove moisture from food, you're depriving bacteria and mold of the conditions they need to thrive. Think of the jerky you've snacked on or the dried fruits you've tossed in your oatmeal. But drying isn't just about throwing a piece of meat out into the sun. It's an art. In ancient cultures, people would hang strips of meat in the hot sun for days, ensuring it was fully hydrated. Nowadays, we have fancy dehydrators that speed up the process, ensuring every bit of moisture is gone. If done properly, dried food can last for years. Beef jerky, dried herbs, or even dehydrated vegetables can be sealed away, safe from the ravages of time. Next up is canning, a method that really took off in the 19th century but has roots in much older preservation techniques. Imagine you're bottling up a moment in time, trapping the flavors and nutrients of today for a rainy day 5 years from now. The idea here is simple. By cooking food and sealing it in airtight containers, you prevent bacteria from entering. No oxygen means no spoilage. Whether it's juicy tomatoes, pickled vegetables, or hearty soups, canning can extend the life of your food for years. But here's the trick, you've got to make sure you're doing it right. One false move and you could invite botulism to the party, which no one wants. The key is high heat, ensuring that all bacteria are destroyed before sealing those lids. Now, let's take a little detour to ancient Egypt for our next method, salting. Salt has been a prized preservative for thousands of years, and for good reason. It's one of nature's most effective ways to draw out moisture. When you coat your food in salt, you're creating an inhospitable environment for bacteria and mold. It works wonders for meats and fish, and if you're a fan of salty flavors, you'll find salted and cured foods absolutely delicious. Ever tried salted cod or prosciutto? They're products of this ancient technique. Salt curing can keep meats fresh for years. But what if you want something a bit sweeter in your preservation toolkit? Enter sugar. Much like salt, sugar can preserve food by creating an environment where bacteria can't grow. Jams, jellies, and fruit preserves are excellent examples. Imagine bottling up the sweetness of summer berries to enjoy during a long winter 5 years down the line. The high sugar content keeps microorganisms at bay, and as long as you store them in a cool, dark place, they can last ages. Speaking of cool, dark places, let's talk about root cellaring. This technique is one of the easiest and most natural ways to keep food fresh for long periods. A root cellar is essentially an underground pantry, where the natural coolness of the earth preserves fruits, vegetables, and other perishable goods. Root vegetables like potatoes, carrots, and beets can last for months or even years when stored this way. The key is maintaining a consistent temperature and humidity, which keeps spoilage at bay. You don't need to dig deep into the ground either. Some people create mini cellars in their basements or garages. But what about something a bit more modern? Let's introduce vacuum sealing. This is where we combine ancient principles with modern technology. By vacuum sealing food, you remove all the air from the packaging, slowing down oxidation and preventing bacteria growth. It's a bit like creating a time capsule for your food. If you combine vacuum sealing with other methods like drying or freeze drying, you've got a winning combination that can extend the shelf life of almost any food item to several years. And of course, there's the magic of freeze drying. one of the most effective methods for long-term preservation. This process involves freezing the food, then removing the moisture through sublimation, where ice turns directly into vapor. The result? Lightweight, crispy versions of your favorite foods that can be stored for decades. Freeze-dried meals are popular among astronauts and campers for their long shelf life, and you've probably seen freeze-dried fruits in cereals or as snacks. These foods can retain their nutritional value and flavor for 5 years or more. As we journey through these time-tested methods, it's important to highlight the last and possibly most futuristic approach: food preservation through fermentation. This might sound counterintuitive. After all, fermentation involves bacteria. But in reality, it's about controlling which bacteria get in on the action. Fermented foods like sauerkraut, kimchi, or miso rely on good bacteria to create an environment that naturally preserves food. Fermented items, stored in a cool, dark place, can last for years, and they only get tastier as they age. Now, I know what you're thinking. All these methods sound great, but can they really keep my food fresh for 5 years? Well, it depends on the technique, the food, and the storage conditions. Combining methods, like canning, vacuum sealing, and storing in a root cellar, can give you the best results. And let's not forget the importance of proper storage. A cool, dark, dry space is your food's best friend. Whether it's a pantry, a basement, or a root cellar, keeping your preserved food out of direct sunlight and away from fluctuating temperatures is crucial. So there you have it, several proven ways to keep your food fresh for up to 5 years without a fridge. Whether you are preparing for an emergency, planning a long-term camping trip, or just curious about ancient food storage techniques, these methods have stood the test of time. The best part? They can all be done from the comfort of your own home. Thank you for joining us on this culinary adventure. Let us know in the comments if you've tried any of these techniques, or if you've got your own favorite methods of keeping food fresh. Don't forget to subscribe to FooDooLoo for more tasty tidbits and kitchen hacks. Until next time, bon appetit!